Welcome back. Today, we're going to unlock a really simple but honestly powerful method to completely transform your language listening skills. We'll show you how to go from feeling totally lost in a conversation to listening with some real confidence. You know that feeling, right? You're trying so hard to listen to a new language, and you can hear the sounds, but the key details, the names, the numbers, the dates, they just vanish. It feels like trying to grab smoke. And look, it's a super frustrating hurdle for pretty much every single language learner out there.
But here's the thing. The key to breaking through that wall isn't about logging more and more hours of grueling study. The real secret is to change your approach. It's all about short, super focused practice sessions that are designed to build your skill, not your frustration. So let's start by figuring out what the challenge really is.
Okay, so let's properly define this challenge. When we say we want to get better at listening, what are we actually trying to do? What does that even mean? This right here is the big mind shift. We need to move from just passive hearing to active listening. So stop thinking of it as just practice and start thinking of it like you're a detective on a case. Your mission isn't to understand every single word. No way. It's to go in with a clear purpose and hunt for specific clues. So how do we actually train ourselves to listen like that, like a detective? Well, you don't need some complex, crazy system. In fact, it all boils down to a very simple and really effective practice framework. It all comes down to this simple 3-step loop. Listen, test, and then review. It's so powerful. First, you listen with a very specific goal in mind. Then you test yourself on what you actually caught. And finally, and this part is absolutely crucial, you review the original audio to see exactly where that piece of information was hiding. This immediate feedback cycle, that's the engine for real improvement. No, theory is great and all, but let's actually see this framework in action. We'll run through a super common scenario as our case study. Just a short, simple phone call to book a restaurant table. All right, for step 1, our mission is crystal clear. We are only going to listen for the keywords. Seriously, forget about understanding every single word. We're just hunting for things like names, numbers, dates, and times. Ready? Let's hear the audio. Okay, listen closely to this first part of the call. Good morning. I'd like to book a table for this Saturday, around 7:30 if possible, for 4 people. Simple enough, right? Now let's test what you heard. Okay, time for step 2, test. Based only on what you just heard, what day is that booking for? And now, step 3, review. The answer, of course, was Saturday. Now, the magic of this method is that there's zero guesswork involved. We can point to the exact fragment that gave us the answer. Book a table for this Saturday. This is proof. You don't need to understand the whole sentence to pull out the right information. Let's keep this going. We're back to step 1. Listen for the next set of keywords. The receptionist asks for a name, and here's the reply. Yes, it's Sarah Green, and we'd like a window seat if possible. Again, your only job is to hunt for those key little details. And look at how this all just clicks into place. When we lay it out like this, the pattern becomes so obvious. Every single piece of critical information, the time, the number of people, the name, that special request, it was all tucked into a tiny, predictable bit of the dialogue. This really proves you can get almost perfect comprehension by just focusing on, say, 20% of the words. That's the whole idea. Okay, so the method is clear and we know it works for a single exercise. But how do you turn this into real, lasting improvement? Well, that all comes down to building the right habits. So the key is to make this a consistent habit. First, always listen with a mission. Know what you're hunting for. Second, practice every day with short little audio clips. Trust me, 5 focused minutes is way better than an unfocused hour. Third, if you really want to level up, try shadowing. That's when you repeat the key phrases out loud right after you hear them. And finally, and this is probably the most important tip of all, start small. Small, consistent wins are what build that unstoppable momentum. So let's boil all of this down to the single most important takeaway. What's the core mindset you really need to have on this learning journey? And please, please take this to heart. The goal is not perfection. You are going to miss things, you're not going to understand every word, and that is completely 100% okay. In language learning, chasing perfection, it's just a recipe for frustration. The real goal is something so much more powerful. It's progress. It's simply about being a little bit better today than you were yesterday. It's about celebrating that you caught the time, even if you totally missed the name. It's those small, consistent wins that build real, lasting confidence. And that brings us to the final, crucial step: actually doing it. So I'm going to leave you with a challenge. What's one small thing you can listen to with purpose today? Find a short audio clip, give yourself one simple mission, and just take that first step, because that's how progress begins.